Faders of the Lost Art.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
Great.
Doing good. Doing solid.
Good.
What up? What up? Faders checking in. Another great episode. We're blessed to be here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Faders of the Lost Art. This is episode 14. We are glad and ecstatic to have our new co-host, the one and only young Dave Pensado. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, big shout out to
Young
my
Dave.
other co-host, young Ken Lewis, big Bob Horn, and young Fareed Salamah. I love it. I love it. Man, we can't keep going on the show without giving a big shout out to our sponsors. We are super thankful for our sponsors, and we're giving away a SonarWorks mic. So stay tuned for the details. SonarWorks, Avid, of course, can't work without Pro Tools. Cloud mics, we got our cloud lifters all plugged in. Arturia always laces us up. And I don't know if you guys can tell, or I don't know if you guys see, but some of us have some of the same speakers. Dutch & Dutch is probably one of the baddest speaker companies on the face of the earth right now. As you could see, 2 or 3 of us, maybe 4, maybe 5, all 5 of us have Dutch & Dutches. I'll let you guys decide.
Yes, Nico, but mine are pretty.
Yours are way nicer than mine. They even cost more because they make better records. That's the prevailing wisdom.
I like how the light.
My work.
What was that, Ken?
So my clients have been loving my work on them. I've mixed about an album and a half on them so far, mastered a few songs, and done a bunch of production. And god damn, I mean, oof.
Yeah, I'm being told I'm mixing like at my highest level now.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh man,
I get a lot of like, dude, this is the best mix yet. I'm getting a lot like amazing translation. People send me their stuff like, hey, can you listen to my song? And I'm like, yeah, it's great in this part, but it's lacking this, and they're like, dude, you picked apart exactly what I felt was wrong with the record. And it's like, how do you hear that? You know, like I couldn't tell, you know, and they translate so well. They're so like detailed. It's retarded. Or
one of the first things I even mixed on them was the Jungkook Lotto 7 single remix. So the single went number 1. I mixed the Nightfall remix. That was one of the first things I did on it. And man, I mean, what a way to kick it off. That thing sounds great.
Yeah, one of the things I like about them is if you're one of the 5 here, you can turn them wide open and they still don't hurt your ears.
Yeah, that's the scary part for me because I don't know how loud I'm listening sometimes. I always check the dB scale on the watch and go like, oh, time to turn it down.
Yep. I always got to check my grace, and I'm like, I'm having a little too much fun, and I look down, it's like, yeah, I'm past 90 dB, so I probably should turn it down. But my sweet spot's around 85, 90. What's everybody's sweet spot for play monitors and playback?
80, 85.
I'm between
80 most of the time.
I'm between 50 and 150. I have no idea.
No, it's hard for me to tell. I've used the Gracie a few times, but I'd say I try to listen either really low and then really loud.
Yeah, I listen super loud in short spurts, no more than 3-5 minutes. Let me know everything that's going on with the bottom. Make sure there's nothing super harsh killing me, and right back down.
I like to go ahead, Dave.
I like to listen not soft or not hard for for the first when I start the mix, and then it progressively gets a little louder. And once I'm through with the kick drums, I move like it's hard to not have the volume stay the same, but when you move the volume all over, you find different places that were different, and so I try to move it all across the map near the end of the mix, not during the mix.
Got you. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm the opposite as far as like I start out louder when things are uncompressed and unbalanced, and as I get my bed and meat and potatoes, then I get it turned down, and then I put little stuff in. You know,
that's cool,
that's pretty interesting.
So I'm one of those creatures of habit people, so I always set it, especially with the Grace's digital. So I set exactly the same, and I'm like, I know where the radio hits, I know where Bieber hits, I know where Ariana hits, like at that level. So I could just come in fresh and just listen to a song and know exactly how it should hit. And then I was gonna mention that's one thing I do a lot is like I'll leave my volume exactly where it's at. I don't turn it down when I cut. Like I'll go take a break and I'll come back, and I'm not gonna start low. Like I want to go take a break and I come back and that shit's gonna blow me back, you know. Like,
I start my mixes hella loud on 10, and I try and get everything into the mix as fast as I can, and then I back everything off and just listen at a normal volume for however long it takes.
That's interesting.
That's really dope. Everyone has
if anybody's
a different
seen me
approach.
sprint mix, it's basically a slower version of sprint mixing.
I caught your show.
Everything in,
I caught your show Wednesday, man. That was a great show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun one. That was stereoizing night. So I dropped a ton of gems on how to stereoize.
I want to go there. What's it called?
Oh, that was mixing night. So youtube.com/mixing night. We do mixing night the first Wednesday of every month, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And I think we just had our 72nd show.
Damn.
So,
wow.
3 years since the beginning of the lockdown on pandemic. So
that's great.
We're still going. Have no intention of stopping.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was great. I didn't catch it live, but I watched it later that night. It's really good.
Sweet. Thanks.
I enjoyed the sprint mix.
And we can't talk about mixing night without talking about LOL Comp coming out. Of course, shout out to Greenhouse. But LOL Comp's coming out. Can't wait.
LOL Comp, August 14th, LOL Comp comes out. That's the Mixing Night Audio's newest plugin. So it's basically the quick rundown on LOL Comp is it's 5 of my chains put under the hood. You can just select which chain works best for whatever you have. And then it's got a drop down that has further like shaping tools. So it's kind of somewhere between a compressor and a channel strip, but it's replaced almost everything that I use. It's pretty amazing.
Guys, I wanna do another plugin. Would anybody want to share some ideas with me? Besides,
what do we
out of here? You don't know what.
We already got 3 more in the works.
Huh?
Wow. Ken just said he's got 3 more plugins in the works. That's pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, we're going ham now.
That's crazy. I've been on a saturation kick. There's some saturation, new saturation plugins. Shout out to Magic Flow, Josh Goodwin, and Acoustica. It's got some cool little saturation in there. But saturation, man, I could always use more saturation. So that's my input.
Especially like adjustable as far as bands and some dynamic saturation. So you could have the low end saturate less and the mids, you could just like Bad Poker.
Saturn 2.
Saturn 2?
Like Saturn 2, but
is one of
another
my favorites.
One just for a different sound, because Saturn is a sound,
Yeah, it's played out almost.
It is pretty played out. Not gonna lie.
But
I'm not gonna lie. I don't touch Saturn 2 at all. Like it's been a while.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I just literally found it, man. I've been throwing it on everything. I've been throwing it on 808s like a lot because you can just split the band and turn up the high part of the frequency. It jumps out of speakers. I've been mixing 808s on like small speakers recently just because I'm trying to hear the ring and like get the the resonance and the presence of the 808 out more.
Sure.
Because I feel like it's weird now, like in certain genres of music, like the kids are looking for the hit, but the hit from the 808 is really that audible, attack and like that upper resonance instead of that low subby that we're used to, So I'm just kind of like readjusting my whole train of thought.
The notes.
Yeah. I've been liking. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've got a theoretical question, which is like, something about do you split your 808s, or if you got an 808 with different notes that are different volumes, everyone's got a different way of doing it, but how do you get those low 808 notes to be like just as growly and just as kind of hit as hard as the heavier notes?
Split them.
Right, throw them on different tracks, right?
Yeah, usually an 808 is a repeating pattern, so you just figure out which notes aren't doing what you want them to, and you just cut those notes out really carefully so you don't get them to pop and click. And then you just treat the other note, completely separately as you're listening to all of them and make it fit in. And the other huge thing that I realized years ago about 808s is when melodic 808s are layered over kick drums and they hit together, the phase changes between every note and every kick. And sometimes the 808 will hit on a certain note and the kick will be almost gone, and other notes the kick is thundering. So not only do I split them off, but I compare every single kick in the pattern to every single 808 in the pattern and make sure that the phase coherency is the same with every hit on the consistency of the kick as well as the 808.
Right.
Yo, that's keys right there.
Deep.
Wow.
That's it. I do something kind of stupid. I take an 808 and then I side chain it with the B15 plugin, and that B15 plugin goes into the tube screamer, and so I've got control over the high end with the B15, and then I've got control over the low end by the B15, and
by B15 you mean the Ampeg amp?
Yeah.
Is that the IK one?
Yeah. Well, there's two.
Which one do you use, Dave? The IK or the UAD, or which one?
Whichever comes up first. They're both the same.
Plugin Alliance?
Yeah, Plugin Alliance comes up most often. But
yep.
The screamer I'm using, what's the name of the screamer I'm using? Mercurial.
Oh yeah,
it's the one.
That's a free one.
A little extra switch on it, and put that switch on it, and I mean you'll have to
take my notes here. Take my notes.
Yeah. That little switch will just blow you away.
Broke after this show again.
You'll have to put a towel in your lap.
Waves
will get embarrassed. It's that good.
Yo, Waves has a tube screamer. I think it's called the Green Screamer, but it's like a very, very modern take on the tube screamer. And holy smokes, that thing is impressive. It's like it's got a bunch of different knobs. You could add heat to it. You could add like you could add a bunch of stuff. It's got a mix knob, of course. It has like a sidechain input, or you could switch the sidechain. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember using that a lot. I don't know why I don't use it too much anymore. I got to get back on that train. That
you just go through phases.
Yep. I forget what it's called. The tube something, whatever. The new Waves tube screamer.
Their saturation stuff and tube stuff has been dope recently.
Has anybody seen the magma springs from Waves? Has anybody tried that yet?
Yeah, right here.
Pretty good. I'm a huge spring reverb fan.
Me too. Me too.
Is it properly dirty? That's always my favorite characteristic of spring reverbs. I don't usually reach for springs if I want like a nice clean reverb. I want one that has character that I can really hear. And
yeah.
So
that audio has a cool one too.
Yeah, the XBF.
I used to have the PV rack mount spring reverb with the tube in it. I had that back when I lived in Nashville. I think it was awesome. I don't know why I got rid of it.
I had that for about a year. I remember.
Is there a spring inside of it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Just like a guitar amp.
Damn. That's crazy.
1/4 inch in, 1/4 inch out, tube drive.
Those are classic on guitars, right?
Yeah, they're great, but they're also great on vocals. They're great on just about anything where you're down with a mono reverb or even sometimes I'll do 2 different springs and pan them hard left and right. And then whatever I need to do to make the left and right different from each other, put like a pre-delay in just the right or something. You can do some crazy stuff.
How important is a non-linear reverb in everyone's mix template? Like, do you guys always or have a certain go-to non-linear reverb? Is that like a must or like a part of that vocal sound that you just...
That's a rare thing.
Dave, I'm seeing there.
Yeah, now that you say that, I always remember Dave talking about non-lin 2 on the RMX 16.
That's like the most famous one, right? The AMS.
I use it uh, uh, Ron Fair taught me how to. You just barely make it a little tiny bit, and then it just makes the vocal sound great. It makes it makes. I don't know what it is, but it makes the singer sound like heaven.
Right.
That's cool.
It was used a lot in the 80s, I'm sure, right? Probably.
What's it? Say that again?
If anyone's a AMS RMX fan, the 500 series version is like exact of the old one.
Really?
The thing is so nice. Yeah.
Wow.
The plug-in is
Yeah.
pretty good, pretty close.
I haven't
UAD?
even compared that yet. Yeah. The plugin's probably great too.
I look at plugins, and the real thing is, who cares? If I like the sound, I like the sound.
Amen.
And
Thank you.
sometimes
Right.
it's possible that the real thing was worse, you know. So
I mean,
No,
how many
yeah, for
different
sure.
versions of an 1176 were there on hardware? And what is the plug-in supposed to emulate? You know, really what you just want is a great compressor that has the general characteristics of an 1176.
Fact.
yeah,
Every real LA2A sounds different, in my
Totally.
opinion.
And
Yeah.
every plug-in LA2A sounds different.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
But,
For
you know,
sure.
You know what's funny is last night I discovered, and I tested it on 5 different sources, that I actually like the UAD 670 Legacy Fairchild better than the new one that has the mix knob and the sidechain filter, which I
I rock
thought
with
it
the
would be the
Legacy,
opposite.
man. I rock
The
with the free
Legacy,
one.
it's just special, and I was like, is this really right? And I tried it in 5 different instruments. Like, yeah, I like the Legacy better.
still
Yeah, I like the
probably
Legacy
my
too.
favorite EQ on earth is the UAD Pultec Pro Legacy. They've never done a stacked version of a newer version, but that Legacy sounds amazing.
Yeah, I feel the same way about their CL1B. I actually like the Legacy better than the Mark II.
Yeah, I was on the fence about the Mark II, and something about the C01B or the Mark II. Like if you push the output, it's like it gets crunchy, or you hear the drive more than the other version. I don't know.
Have you
Or
guys tried
to
the
me,
Realtek Pultec?
No, who is it?
Don't, because you'll be using it for breakfast.
Yeah, you'll have to
like
buy it. It's amazing.
sprinkle it on your foot.
what's it
Great.
called?
It's by Noise Ash, and it's called Realtek, and it's not trying to be a classic Pultec. It's definitely better.
Put it down, Bob.
Noise.
RULETEC, Rule Tech.
Yeah.
Man, it does that top end. Ooh, so sweet.
Yeah,
I remember you put me
really,
onto that,
really
Dave.
good.
That is.
Nico, you've been holding out, man.
What can I say? What can I say? I was waiting for Dave.
No, he works out and pretends like whenever he did anything, he takes the credit.
That's
But
great.
truth be told, Nico's my favorite, man. Nico is the world is a better place with Nico in it.
Amen.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
fine,
Dave.
Bob, not so much.
Big
Sorry.
Y'all are too nice. All right, on to the next. Off of the soapy, on to the nitty gritty. We haven't talked about Atmos. Well, I think Ken's the only one on Atmos right now. So
Heavy.
Let's take a consensus. How long is Atmos going to last? I asked this a couple episodes ago.
Define how.
But now that some time has passed, you think it's here to stay, everyone?
Nobody's hearing me.
Yeah, I think it's going to stay niche for quite a while because I think the rollout of it has not been so sweet. But the format, I mean, you got Apple and Dolby, two of the biggest companies on earth in audio that are backing it, and they've poured gazillions into it. So as a format, it's not going away. You know, movie theaters now have Atmos in almost every theater you see. So the name is becoming more ubiquitous. What needs to happen is some sort of sea change in audio that makes Atmos a whole lot more appealing. I don't know about the eyeball in Vegas, if that's Atmos or if it's surround or whatever, but something like that's going to need to bring Atmos more towards the center of it. Until then, it's going to stay very niche. But you know,
I think
I feel like it's not going to be on the consumer as in something they desire, because I think the consensus is right now a lot of consumers don't care about the Atmos.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the receiving of it. So like instead of these sound bars, when the smart TVs add the Atmos sound bar in the TV, and then the Oculus Rift has multiple transducers around the headband, and you know when it's going to be forced on them, and then people aren't going to mind it being forced because
they won't notice it.
It's just going to be something that comes with your
car
products,
audio.
you know.
I'm still working on
cars
mono.
already have it.
Hey, listen.
I can't tell.
Listen to me. I'm still working on mono. What are you guys talking about?
Right, I'm still checking mixes.
I just saw. I know a lot of guys that are on the Aurotone, but just one. Obviously, we do the two, but like I just saw Jamie Z's setup. He's got the one Aurotone, so you know, hey.
Yo, I just tried the VSXs, right?
Uh-huh.
Shout out to Lou. Thanks to Big Lou. Shout out Lou.
Big Lou, yes.
What's up, Lou?
And I was blown away with one particular emulation. I think it's Slate's Room, and he has the mono Aurotone in the middle. And when you do that, it goes mono in the headphones, and you hear it come. I was blown away at that for sure. The other studios are cool, but I actually just like the sound of the headphones without an emulation on it. To me, they translate pretty good.
Wow,
that's me, and I love tracking with them. They're real light on your head, and, you know, the cord is unobtrusive, and you can wear them for a long time. Same with mixing, but yeah, I don't use the emulations either, but I love the headphones.
Yeah,
same with his mic. I like the mic without the emulations.
Same, man. Absolutely same. And it's so funny. I'd use the emulations without the mic. Sometimes I'd use the 47 on the kick, and it would just beef it up. Yeah, without the mic, use the emulation.
I used to take the 47 and plug it straight into the back of the machine, the tape machine. It had that much power.
The FET or the tube?
Tube.
The tube.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was about 2 dB too low, but it just, if you some of my older stuff, like Coolio and some of those guys, you can hear the difference.
You plugged it straight into the tape machine, like bypassed pre's and stuff like that?
Straight in.
Wow.
Didn't even know you could do that.
And I'd be scared because, you know, with the Tube 47, I feel like those are kind of delicate. I'm not sure, but like I know the new Telefunken Electrolastic 47, it's like it's very power sensitive, or whatever, where you plug it into, it's very sensitive. Like we've sent it to get fixed like 4 or 5 times already because like it'll just lose audio. You'll just hear a little shh. Crazy. And I had to get a backup power supply, plug it into that instead of plugging it to the wall. I guess there was a ground issue or something in that building.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like 4 times we've sent it back to get fixed.
Have you guys ever
definitely a power issue in the building?
Have you guys ever listened to an old school, fresh recording, like of one of the old crooners, you know, like in the 40s, and then play that same that same 47 now? There's really not a 47 that's the same as when it was made, because they've changed so many things. And man, the S's on the old ones, Frank Sinatra, try that. It's just heavenly. It's like butter. Wow. I mean, but the same.
The S's bother me.
The same 47 now is not anywhere like that.
Yeah.
It's like the old C800Gs. I got a immaculate vintage C800G, and everybody always told me like, those are really, really bright. And I'm like, no, they're perfect. And then somebody told me recently, like the 2010 and beyond are basically a completely different microphone that's really hyped on the top end.
No, don't say that.
That's
true.
No, that hurts.
Yeah, my vintage one sounds amazing and has stood up for, God, I've had that for 25 years.
How many tubes have you gone through?
4, maybe.
Wow.
I was gonna say
yeah.
they're great on tubes, man. I think, man, I love that mic. I think that mic's pretty good. Solid mic.
Yeah, shout out to changing out your tubes every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people don't think about, you know.
Yeah, the last tube I put in it was a $12 new old stock Russian tube off of eBay, and it sounded amazing.
It's Russian.
You know,
Yeah.
but it is hard to change the tube out on a C800 for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys anyone own a C01B, and how often do you switch to tubes on that?
Well, I own one, but I don't use tubes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I haven't heard too many
I dug
people
myself
talking about.
into a ditch. I'm sorry, guys.
I haven't heard too many people talking about. I haven't heard too many people talking about swapping tubes in the CL1B. I would say, like, I'm gonna take a wild guess here.
A lot of people use Mullers in the CL1, and those are pretty sweet.
There's a great tech here for LA people or anyone that ever wants to ship their gear to LA. His name is Charlie Bolus. And that guy, when he replaces your tubes, he auditions them by ear and gives you the best sounding one. It's a really great guy. Not the cheapest repair guy, but he does the best work.
Good guy.
Awesome.
Good guy.
But he gives your tube gear back the best it could possibly be sounding, you know.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's just a pet peeve for me when you go in the studio and like you're in your go-to vocal chain and Neve, CO1B, whatever, C800, and then it's just like it's not sounding how it's supposed to sound, or you get like a way lower gain structure, or it's sounding weak, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? It's supposed to sound
I bought
right.
a CO1B back in 07. And I plugged it in. I was like, I love these in the big studios. Now I got my own room. I'm going to have a CO1B. Plugged it in for the first time and just hated it. And I ended up selling it and getting an LA2A. And the guy who bought it from me, I wasn't smart enough to open it up and check it or give it to a tech or anything. He opens it up and he's like, yeah, the tube's bad. Even though this is brand new, they gave you a bum tube.
Wow.
So that kind of stuff can happen. I've had gear arrive where the leads on the input knob weren't soldered. They were just laying on the leads.
Yeah.
So if you tap the front of the gear, it disconnected your audio. It's like all this handmade gear is exactly that. It's handmade.
Right, right.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Ken?
It's crazy.
Ken, come back.
Come back.
Was it something I said?
So now that Ken's not here, let's talk about what everyone's been working on. Because Ken always has like 9,000 way more crazy projects than we do.
Well, I've been working on blah, 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 blah,
blah. Ken's always working on great stuff.
For real.
Ken's a goat.
I've been working with a few indies. I've been designing a new studio in Burbank. I did some mixes for Big Sean.
Nice.
Wow.
And then what else have I been doing? Yeah, a bunch of random stuff.
Right.
Oh, he's back.
Ken's back.
Hey.
Oh, snap. Ken, we were just talking about we took advantage of while you were gone to talk about what everybody's working on, since you always have the longest list. We figured we'd get started. Oh boy. Anywho, I've been doing a lot of mastering lately. I'm now at a stage where I've mastered over 50 or 60 albums.
Damn.
dude.
And I'm like, whoa, when did I do that?
So I got a question for you then.
Yeah.
As a person that's doing mastering, and you came from a mixing background, are you worried about the technical side that I sure don't know about, like mastering for iTunes? Are you getting into that, or DDP or any of that stuff, or you're just making it sound good and consistent through the album and then giving it back to them?
Yeah. So as far as mastering for iTunes, I'm not crazy clear about that. I'm not gonna lie. And then most DSPs or most distribution kind of takes care of a lot of the other stuff. So I don't think you have to get nitty gritty. And a lot of people, it came about because a lot of people were putting my mixes out without mastering.
Yeah.
Right.
So then I was like,
Right.
well, let me master it then.
So you're not worried about the IRC codes because now like DistroKid and them they're doing that now.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
wasn't.
think they
Yeah,
bake it
exactly.
in.
So I wasn't doing it on any of the mixes that were getting published. You know, a lot of people were publishing my mixes. I was like, well, at least let me master it. I don't know, I'll figure it out. And so I was.
Another tech question. So do you in your mix do you just master right there, or do you get it bounced out as a file, do a whole new like empty session, and then work on it? Then does that make a difference for you?
Big time.
Rather than just beefing up your master fader.
So two things. One, I think there's definitely the creative side, a completely different creative approach, I'd say. So if I have access to a vocal fader, I'm going to go touch it. You know, so that's hands down, I have to have a 2-track print. Even on my own.
So it's a mental thing. Just get a whole different session kind of.
Yeah, because I'll start tweaking other things that I shouldn't be tweaking. I'll be working too hard. I'll be changing too many things. In my opinion, this is my humble opinion, mastering is something that it's really good when you do it on first impression. You know, first impression's everything. And for me, that's what's given me the ability to get better and better at mastering. I act upon my first impressions, and I try to stay pretty close to that.
So do you do it right then and there at the end of the mix, or you do a separate day?
Completely. It's got to be a separate day. If I don't have the time, I don't have the time. But most of the time, I'll try and do it a different day. At least get a night's sleep or something and master it. But for mastering my own stuff, let me do a side note here. Mastering my own stuff is actually very difficult. I'm probably one of the worst mixers at this, but Dave can help me out with this here. My mixes are hard to master because they're so loud. So I'll master my own mixes, and I'll end up liking my own mix probably half of the time, and I'll be like, look, they're just different flavors at this point. They're both just as loud. 0.1 LUFS isn't going to change anything. Just pick which one you like better, you know, and release that one. But
I always mix to mastered. Like every mix that I do, I'm sending a mastered mix to my client. And then once it gets approved, then I print that version that they approved, and then I print an uncompressed version with my any kind of late stage push that I have on it to get it up to master volume. I just remove that. If they want to have a goat master it, then go right ahead. But usually it's, you know, unless it's like a big major label project, it's usually my mix going out mastered to the world.
So Ken, have you ever done a gig where you were mastering someone else's mix?
Yeah, I master all of Grizzly Adams' stuff now. Like we produced and mixed for him for years, but I don't mix much for him now, but I master everything that he does. And I do that for a few different clients. I don't really try and bill myself as a mastering engineer, but I'm dangerous.
When I was in Atlanta,
but we are mastering Atmos now. So I'm the Atmos mixer here, and my assistant Jonathan Garcia he's learned the skill of Atmos mastering, which is a whole bunch of voodoo that I don't know anything about, and he's really good at. So.
Yeah, Jonathan's a dangerous individual for sure.
He certainly is.
When I lived in Atlanta, I started my recording career there, and this was a while back, and we looked at a mix as a mix. We didn't have different positions in things. So you when you were through with the mix, it was mastered. We didn't call it that, but it was mastered. And when I got here, I didn't know you could put something on the stereo bus because we never did that in Atlanta. And for me, I can't master my own stuff, but I can help other people, you know, take their stuff to a higher level, which I guess is another name for mastering. But I like looking at music as music and not divided into. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's just easier for me to think about it as a whole rather than chopping it up, you know. But I admire the people that do that, like Mike Bozzi and Ken himself, and and Bob not so
No,
much.
there's a slew of really good guys that are just wow, and again, for me, it kind of came in out of necessity, but yeah, it was like my mixes are coming out. This is the master, I guess. So it's like, okay, well, can we get a little bit better? And shout out to Dub Shakes. He helped me out when I first started mastering, and I was like, I don't like Bob was asking, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I mean, I'm just doing what sounds good, So ask your peers, definitely always ask around and see, if you can get any insight. But there's not a lot to it anymore. Dave says, back when we had records mastering, yes, it mattered. But nowadays we mix so loud and we're, everyone here is such a bad MF that, we could probably all master our own stuff.
I definitely think mastering engineers now, they kind of, I can't speak for every mastering engineer, but I think like a lot of mastering engineers kind of like just do the master and they shoot you all the different formats, and then they leave it up to you to upload, and they leave it up to you to pick which format to upload to which DSPs.
Yeah.
And people do it wrong, and a lot of stuff gets turned down. It's not the -1 dB or whatever, because DSPs are weird right now. So I feel like when we master our own stuff, we have more control of that, or
True.
like we figure out the little loophole, whatever, to keep it loud. You know what I'm saying? But like I run into it so many times with clients where they send off my mix to get mastered, and then when they put it out on DSPs, it's not hitting, or it's lower, and I'm like, well, did you upload the 16-bit CD version? That's like -6 LUFS, or did you upload the high res or the MFIT? Like, so I think that's still important just because of the world we're in right now, like different formats
I
and
feel
stuff.
like nowadays mastering engineers should include a README file when they send it back, so
Absolutely.
they can just explain to an artist. Because a lot of times we just give these files like, here you go, here it is, and they
Right.
just have all this on their laptop, desktop. Like, well, what should I do? And they
Yeah,
very easily can do the wrong thing.
absolutely.
And managers
I'll tell.
too. A lot of times managers are the ones
Yeah,
uploading.
A&Rs,
yeah,
managers, yeah, they don't know what version,
That's a
you know.
great Bob. We should do that. We should do a tutorial on like DistroKid 101 or something. Like, so I've seen tutorials on everything except for that. Like, why
Yeah,
is
people need to see the
like
credit area in
exactly? Thank
DistroKid.
you for reading credits. Somebody needs to teach these people credits. Somebody needs to teach these people, since they're doing metadata, formatting, for the right
yeah.
DSPs. I mean,
But when I Google it, there's tutorials on that, like on YouTube for DistroKid credit, and I'm just like, how people miss this, So I don't know.
Yeah, but we need to do it. We
yeah,
need to
it's
do
Right.
it.
because
Hey guys,
we haven't done
I
it.
think we ought.
Yeah.
Please trust me on this. Ruben Cohen is one of the best mastering engineers. He's a sweetheart of a guy. We should have him come on because I have never heard anybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have never heard anybody talk that way, and
that'd be great.
I think so too.
Yeah, let's
I
do
would
that.
love that,
And we'll
man.
pick his
Well,
brain.
I'll throw one other tidbit in this whole loud mix scenario, and I won't say his name because I don't have his permission. But there's a famous Atlanta mixer, mixes the biggest stuff out there, and he does not play the loudness wars at all. I have a unmastered mix of his that he sent out to the client, and that thing is like -18, and it sounds incredible. And I'm sure when it's mastered, it's going to sound just as incredible. But he does not. He just states, "I don't play those loudness wars," and I guess he can do that because of where he is in his career. And so if they say, "Oh, it's not loud enough," he can just say, "Well, get it mastered. It's done."
For
But
sure.
just thought I'd throw that interesting little tidbit in there.
No, I think once you get to a certain level, and like you can tell people like, look, man, the loudness doesn't necessarily dictate a better mix. Like,
Well, one thing young Dave Pensado told me, a couple of years ago was that people get fired sometimes for not having a loud enough mix. They don't get fired for having a slightly crunchy mix. Not that you want a crunchy mix, but you got to win that war sometimes with certain A&R, certain managers, certain artists, because that's just what they hear. They're going to switch over to Drake, and or whatever they're listening to and hear it louder and be like, no, this is better. We hired the wrong guy.
Right.
That's why I deliver it to mastered.
Me
too.
They're not going to fire you if they ask you to turn it down, but if they have to ask you to turn it up, they might want to fire you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly.
I'm
sure that's happening.
My assistant Sam, who's to my left, we just what we do is we try to Fletcher Munson the shit out of it. That's what we call it, because that's that frequency that their brain is designed to hear, and if you can get that stuff, you can have something just think that it's loud as hell, but you take that Fletcher Munson shit and there's a plugin by a guy named Dave, and it just makes everything louder.
Is it this one?
Huh?
Is that one right there?
I can't see it.
What's your shirt say? I don't see it.
Y'all don't see that?
Yeah, I saw it when I came in.
I mean,
I'll show you where it is. I'll show you where it is. Okay, go start. Yeah, go one more over. That one. No. That one. The one. I'm pointing right at it, damn it.
Go to your left.
No, not that one. One over. To your that one.
What is this, like the 2K area?
It's a group of frequencies from 440 hertz to how many? 12 and a half.
12K or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wide band. I love that one. I've been sleeping on that.
Are those the frequencies most like prominent to the human ear?
No, but I gave myself a little more on either side, and
got you.
And then, by the way, no, never mind.
Yeah,
too much sauce.
Shout out Acoustica! Holy smokes, we got to make another plugin with Acoustica, Dave. Like they got
Acoustica
insane.
rocks.
I've been saying for a long time that is the way of the future. Like analog, whatever it's called, impulse response, but that's like the truest form of analog emulation, right? That to me is the future. The other half is like the better maker thing, where it's like the analog gear digitally controlled, but that's just, you still got to go get the analog, you know. You got to carry around gear.
Man, if Acoustica makes a satellite box for their DSP to handle the DSP, they will make millions the very same year they do that.
Yep. It's gonna happen, man.
Supposedly, you can run a whole entire Windows computer to host the DSP, but
but listen to what you just said.
Yeah, I don't
think about.
I don't know anyone doing it. Which is another problem.
And no one would want to.
Yeah.
So, I've been running it on. So I've been using a Mac Mini, right? No M1, 64 gigs.
Latest Intel, you said, right?
You poor bastard.
Yeah. No, but look. So compared to my laptop, which I've had since 2012.
Well, okay.
The Mac Mini is blowing me away, and this is not M1. It's not M2. It's not M1 Max, Ultra, anything.
How many? All it is 6. Are you running? I
can run at least 4 of Ocean. That's their new multiband, and that thing, my laptop won't run with one of them. So I'm like, but also like at one times oversampling. As soon as you put on the oversampling, computer just chokes. Has
anyone tried oversampling on Magic Flow? Josh Goodwin's plugin?
I haven't tried that plugin yet, man. I gotta try it.
The oversampling is like good, best, and like superb. So you don't really know how many times oversampling. And that's superb. It really does take things a step up, but boy, your machine better be ready. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, well, I would only turn on oversampling when I'm bouncing and do it offline. Like I love Soothe. I think every plugin should have that option. Soothe 2 has, where you can go and hit offline and make the offline bounce, ultra resolution and 4 times oversampling. So while you're playing in Pro Tools, it's normal and it's not killing your CPU. But when you bounce it, it's at the best resolution.
Have you ever bounced it and found it to change your tone just a little bit at the higher resolution?
Oh yeah, it changes the sound completely, man.
Way?
Sometimes you lose low end. It's like you just gotta like mess with it and so I dived in big with oversampling on Fire the Clip.
Yep.
Because they have like 2x all the way to like 256x. So it's like,
dude.
it's really insane. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, does this even matter? So I just tried different ones. And I must say, like, the high end and stuff gets a little clearer. It's less aliasing and stuff, like, when you go super high. But I lose low end. And, like, my thing with that is you have to use the clipper. You have to use the fire, the clip. And clipping inherently kind of loses low end. To me, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
It smushes it, in my opinion. What do y'all think?
So I'm like, damn, can we get an oversampler with no clipper? You know, but then Bob Horn put us on that OG trick. With the Saturn, remember?
Yeah, Saturn
yeah,
1.
Saturn 1. Yep.
I find the FabFilter Pro L2, it's got 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 oversampling, so you can mix it like 4 times oversampling, and then when you're ready to print, you can bump it up to 16 or 32 and bounce offline.
That's fire, because I've been looking for a limiter, for like a brick wall limiter with oversampling in it, because most of the brick wall limiters I use don't have it. But you just said Pro L that has it, so I'm gonna check that out.
Pro L2 is worth its weight in gold for sure.
Man, I've been doing this combo where I get the mix with Pro L2 at the end of it, and then after that I put a gain stage, and I put limitless after that gain stage, and I'll leave the limitless threshold at 0, and I'll just push into limitless a little bit. So I've already gotten my negative 0.1 ceiling.
Yep.
And then I'll put a gain stage, raise the mix up more with limitless afterwards, and limit again. And that double stage limiting has like really helped me. And limitless sounds so good.
Yeah, that combo is something that lives on my master or my mix bus or whatever. But you know, L2 is inactivated and limitless is always on at the end. And then it's like it's kind of a flavor thing / like putting things in a box and pushing them forward.
Yeah.
I gotta mess with limitless.
Real quick, Bob, what's your gain stage? What do you use to gain stage in between?
Good math.
Good math. Okay.
Yeah. Good math gets.
What do
you
mean a gain stage? Like to bump up your mix?
Just a volume.
Yeah.
knob.
So it's just a volume knob. It's 3 volume stages plus or minus 3 dB, but the math under the hood is. I don't even know how to explain this. This plugin gets so much flack on social media because so many people just think it's bullshit. But it's a better way to gain stage than pulling down your threshold on your limiter. The more you like, some of these producers will have like their L2 with the threshold at negative 20 because their mix came in so low. Right. And they'll put the threshold negative 20 to bring it up, and it deteriorates the sound. If you left your threshold. L2 starts to deteriorate after you get below a negative 1.8. So what I do instead is use good math to push into it rather than pull the threshold down on any limiter.
That's genius.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a trim. It's like a trim plugin. Like I would always, and I'd see mixers always do this, right? The SSL. Oh, you told me this too, Bob. I guess this is why people use this plugin. But the SSL comp from Waves, the old school, the G compressor emulation, right?
Yeah.
The makeup gain output on that, I would barely compress it. I'll compress my mix a little using that compressor just because it has such a cool sound. It'll glue stuff together, but like barely tap it. Like if I see the needle like moving too much, like I'm doing too much compressing, and I got a gain stage before that. But I'd use the makeup knob on that to crank the shit out of my mix because I won't mix. I'd mix to my master bus and make sure I'm not peaking my master bus without anything on. And then to crank it up, basically I'm guessing like the Good Math plugin, I'm basically cranking up the output stage of the SSL compressor.
Yeah, there's some good clean volumes. Cambridge, UAD Cambridge EQ.
Yeah,
that's a great clean volume knob.
Yeah. I love that plugin, but lately it puts like this whole like window over your mix, and it's a color. It's a color to it that it either works or it doesn't. And I used to not care. I used to always put it on because it's such a clean EQ. But check it out. Like really listen to it on
Cambridge
filter section. The filter section on that Cambridge is always my go-to.
That's great.
Is it the Cambridge?
So versatile.
Didn't Sunox do the help with the Cambridge?
Yep. Yeah, Dave,
but
remember
you
showed
UAD,
me
right?
The elliptical, which is like a brick wall low whatever. I don't know which way it is. But
96 dB per octave.
Yeah. I feel like they influenced FabFilter to go get that 96 dB per octave
right
update.
FabFilter just has every slope,
Insane. And then
you can think of.
One thing I think me and Ken were talking about this one day back in Clubhouse, but one thing I like to do is find the root note of the kick, or just the low end, or the root note of the key of the song, and kind of find a way to low cut around 10, 12, 50, whatever the root note is. Dave, I'm sure y'all have heard Dave talk about the app that we have on our phone. I think it's called, what is it called? Music Math. And you could find exactly what frequency belongs to what note. So if you kind of put your low cut, those 96 dB per octave low cuts near those root notes, you'd be surprised. Get some fat low end.
We had DJ Swivel on the show. He's got an EQ called Noctonal, and you select your EQ band by the note on the keyboard, which is a totally different way of thinking about EQ. And man, that shit is so effective if you just know what your key is and you just audition certain notes in your key and boost those as like the fundamental of your kick. You can find shit with Noctonal.
I gotta get that.
Yeah, Noctonal by DJ Swivel.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's really cool. He's got another one called Click Boom. That's a super fast, versatile kick drum one too, and it's kind of the same concept. It's just you can sweep the main energy frequency of the boost on the low and the high where you want to bring it out. It's just a super.
You can also trigger with MIDI. I did that one time where I had all these instruments playing the same bass line: tuba, upright bass, regular bass, keyboards, piano. All these different instruments playing the same bass line. And I boosted that frequency and wrote the MIDI to trigger all those plugins, and it just moved the boost for each note. And then I used the cut band on Noctonal to clean it up, and that just pulled all those instruments together.
There's some mad scientist shit right
we
here,
need to
man.
get like Bob his own segment of the show. Like, holy shit, Bob, you be coming up with some shit, man.
To be able to explain what you're doing is the next level, because I know like there's so much shit that I do that I just like, it's just like me just messing around. I couldn't even explain it.
Well, that came from DJ Swivel. Like on his website, he's got like 3 YouTube videos on how different ways to use Noctonal, and that MIDI thing is just a feature that he made into that plugin. So I just saw that, and then it just happened like right after I watched that video, I had a song where it applied, and I needed it. And man,
Swivel,
Bob,
I feel like
go
Swivel
humble now, Bob. It's just too late.
Swivel's definitely bridging the gap between like producers and engineers. He's bridging that. He's trying to make it easier, make it make sense.
Definitely helping.
His Sauce plugin's pretty cool too.
Yeah, shout out Swivel.
Oh yeah,
shout out the Make Believe Studio folks with that good math and that. Man,
Sontech.
we got some good plugins coming out, and I'm stoked that it's like like Dave always said, man, it's great to use plugins made by your friends, and I was like, man, that must be nice because I don't know anybody that makes plugins. And now little by little, I exactly look at Ken makes plugins, Dave makes plugins now. What?
Fire.
It's insane. I love you,
Bob, we need a Bob Horn plugin, man. It's got to have your face like on the pillow.
Yeah, on the
like a slider, like
Bob Horn plugin.
Dave,
for sure, that thing's gonna.
We were playing with the idea of putting your face on all the knobs of the EQ or something.
We should do that with LawComp.
That would be funny.
Yeah, LawComp looks like it has an awesome GUI, like all those faces and everything.
Yeah, we went ham on that. So basically, I have a good friend who, of all things, used to work for Trump for the first 500 days of the White House and then got the fuck out of there. And now he runs a creative firm in Alabama, and they're soup to nuts, any kind of marketing stuff. So I trade him production for GUI. Wow. So the GUI is far beyond anything that I could have ever dreamed of paying for to get designed. And but we just traded services and got it done. And man, it's
awesome.
Gotta love that. Don't sleep on trading services in the industry, folks.
Bartering is amazing.
Bartering, man.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys care about this, but there's a plugin that I'm really using a lot, and it saves me time, and it just sounds good wherever I put it. And it's TG Mastering by Abbey Road, and it's and so what I like about it is I haven't tested this, but sometimes the limiter is too much and a compressor is too little, and so I feel like that the TG Mastering one, it lets a couple things get through the limiting, and I don't know if that's true, but if that's what I feel like. So in other words, it's not a brick wall. It lets stuff through, and it's what would you call it? It's got every you can do all you want with just that one.
Dave, you have presets?
You just confirmed that.
Presets on that one?
Yeah, I think I do. Do I have?
I think you do, and I think I remember I was doing a slew of I was like a writing camp or slew of recording sessions in Amsterdam, and I didn't bring my rig. I just had whatever they had, and it was just basically waves, and I was like, man, I need to make this sound better. What do I do? I'm pretty sure I went to the Dave Pensado preset of the TG Mastering, the Abbey Road, or is it Abbey Road Master or TG something like that? It was up there at the top.
It's blue,
Nico,
right?
Yeah,
it's a blue.
yeah, the blue one.
Nico is light boost was the preset. Light.
Who makes that?
Waves. No.
Waves. Oh, it's a Waves. Oh,
is it Waves?
Waves, yeah.
Abbey Road, yeah.
Yeah, and it's part of the latest Waves. It's not. It's part of version 14.
You know what? Dave brings up a good thing about limiting, where nowadays limiters are that are sold are so many of them are just all brick wall because the company wants to be your final stage limiter.
Right.
And limiters didn't used to be that. Limiters used to be cranking the ratio of a compressor past 20-1, and even some of the dedicated limiters weren't necessarily brick walls, but now that's the trend. But yesterday I used the CLA 3A Waves with the limiter function, and I was auditioning compression versus limiting on a kick drum of all things, and the limiter sounded great on the kick drum, just a little tap, but it's not a brick wall at all,
No, the UAD Manly Varimu and the outboard Manly Varimu, I use both of those mixing all the time. There's nothing brick wall about that. I use it totally for character and control, but it's like first or second in my chain, not last.
In the 90s, I used that to send my information to the 2-track machine. I was always one size too loud, and I didn't really care. I let it go most of the time. But I use it for that. But man, you don't do anything, and it makes a drum go from to just smack without touching it.
Yeah. Yeah, that Varimu is. But it's for me, the Varimu is like a 50-50 shot at working. Sometimes it just smears your transients down a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely rough on big, gigantic kick drums for sure.
Yeah,
anything heavy bass is a little bit aggressive.
But if you go
so Ken, that trick you do where it's just crushed and you have the slow release, that you're doing that in limit mode or compression mode?
Limit.
Limit
compressor.
Okay.
No, I think
compressor.
Compressor, yeah.
Okay.
But it's always working, and I'm hitting it really hard. And it's my settings on the UAD almost never change. Slowest attack, slowest release.
You shouted out your settings, and I made my own little preset. I called it Ken Lewis Barbecue. I saved that.
Yeah, it works on almost everything except like EDM, because the big drops, it just pulls them down too much. And anything like big hip hop kick drums, I tend to find it crunches them a little bit too much. But anything else, it's like the first box in the chain just gives you a ton of control, and it makes your transitions like from verse to chorus and back out of chorus to verse. Like if you get it sounding really great in the verse and really great in the chorus, but they don't go transition into and out of each other smoothly, usually that UAD or the Manly Varimu in general just takes care of that and makes your life so easy.
It's true.
And that's kind of the cheat code with that box.
Nice.
Do you guys ever You guys ever
Yeah,
use
same.
the waves L1?
I use it all
Sound,
the
yeah.
time, but
That's
I
got
use
a
it on
not on
vocals
the
and
mix bus.
Oh no,
no, not on the
please
mix
never.
bus.
But it's a little bit can come through. And what I like to do, Nico, you know what I'm going to talk about, right? So I take the L1 and I'll bring the two things down, right? And the ceiling I'll raise about 2 dB, and then I'll run that into another L1. I'll do the same exact thing. Then I'll do to another L1, and it does the same exact thing. And you throw that on a bass,
Just levels the shit out of
and
it.
you'll say, "What the fuck was Dave thinking? That thing's shitty." But it's not. It's really cool.
It
Hold
is.
on,
It is.
I'm bringing someone to pack me up.
would
Come here, man. Back me up.
would you,
Yeah.
Come here, back me up.
And then if
Dave?
you
Would you change?
Yes, that's the first thing he showed me, and it changed my life. Hi.
hey,
I'm writing
shout
it
out
down.
Sam.
I'm writing
Big
it,
shout
writing it
outs,
down.
man. No question. Do you change the release on any one of those, or would you have them like
No.
fire?
I don't,
It's a cheat code.
I don't
So
know.
like
I
so
don't know
you
what that
basically
meant
like
to me.
you basically take the center knob, which like grabs both of the knobs at the same time,
Yeah.
and you use that to pull it down till you get a little bit of reduction, right, Dave? And
Well,
then
you have to have something where the limiter has something to do. So
right,
you raise the output on the right side.
right. So you pull it down, you get a little bit of reduction, and then you raise that output a little bit,
And then you do the
just
same
to
exact thing 2 more times.
yep.
Do you ever do that? Would you ever do that to vocals?
Oh man, no, sometimes if I don't like what I'm getting, I'll just click, click, click. There'll be 3 right in a row, and he comes in. What are you
Right.
doing? No, you can't do that. You can't do that. But
I'm always searching for
but I'm
that
sure you guys
method
have
to
done
like
that.
have
I'm
vocals.
sure you guys have done that.
Oh yeah, of course, man. No,
Fareed,
I'm
do you
always
ever
like,
try a distressor?
yes, man. I've tried the distressor recently, but the real thing, tracking, and I loved it. I was blown away. Like it brought out crazy harmonics. Like that was the whole skip thing I was telling you guys about, where like we did something and like we couldn't the just the harmonics and like just like the raspiness of his voice. I couldn't replicate it on the U47 Neve and CO1B. I only got it on the SM7 distressor chain.
What
You know.
what are your attack and release settings on that distressor for vocals?
So attack is super, super slow. Well, maybe not too slow because like, or else you won't see any gain reduction or hear any gain reduction. But I'll see like I'll do it to like I'll have it like on 2-1, 3-1, maybe 2-1, and then I'll do mid attack. You know, because it goes from like 10-1, right? So somewhere in the middle, and the release, super fast release. You know, and like just the, you know, because I'm always compressing to tape just for transient control, not too much for flavor. You know, like the distressor was the first compressor that I used where I'm like, damn, this added mad flavor. You know what I mean? But that's why I always use the CM1B, or that's what I kind of was taught to use, you know, something transparent to not add too much flavor, you know, unless that's what you're going for. You know what I'm saying? So I'd only like just tame the peaks. So, and I know Distressor is a very flavorful compressor, so I was just trying to tame the peaks, but it still came through with a lot of harmonics and like, I'm like, man, this thing is sick.
And what about your release?
Yeah.
Can I go philosophical on you guys for a minute and tell me if I'm wrong?
Sure.
Okay, so we're engineers, and this is the cream of the crop I'm looking at right now. Now, if all of our clients don't use anything analog, should we acquiesce and go all digital? You know what I'm saying? So if you want to be relevant today, fuck analog, fuck all that shit. It's digital that gets it to work. And just like if you look at if you look at the history of music, it was always a plateau that was reached, and and they didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? And so sometimes I don't want to do that, you know, but sometimes I like it. And lately the mixes I've been doing, that's what they like. And if I put something like my Mog on it, they'll go, there's something wrong with it. Yeah, you know. So I go to the digital Mog and they like it. And so just to FYI, if I'm right, then utilize that in your work. If I'm wrong, but
I think that's in the eye of the beholder. Like, that's our job as mixers to make those decisions. And whether we're tweaking analog or we're tweaking digital, we're going to make the same decisions because our ears are going to guide us to the result and our gut is going to guide us to the result. And as long as you have great conversion and great monitoring and you can hear clearly what you're working on, then to me, the days of, you know, is analog or digital better, which one? It's one isn't better than the other. It's which one you feel more comfortable and more creative using. And to that end, like, I'm one of the best sample recreators in the entire world. And I have to sometimes recreate old 70s soul records or 50s orchestral things that are completely analog recordings. And I've got to figure out how to mimic those exactly using only the digital realm. And it's possible because my clients have gotten sued for stuff that I have recreated from scratch. And the rights holders on the other end think that they're listening to their own record, and it's not. It's me.
That's crazy. A little too good. You recreated it a little too.
That's always my goal as a sample recreator. I'm trying to get you sued, and as soon as you are, just call me, and I'll hand over the stems, and the case will be over immediately. And that's happened.
Wow, nice.
That's cool.
I'm an AB guy, like, and the outboard gear I have, it's not typical stuff. Like, I have a locomotive 14B compressor, which is a lot lesser known than, you know, your typical stuff. And I have a couple Pultecs and some other stuff. But when I come out of the box, it's got to be worth the hassle to reprint it and all that. So I A/B it. So if I'm beating it out of the box, I mess with it. And if I'm not, I don't mess with it. You know, it's like, you know, no one wants to work harder if it's not worth it. So.
Bob, hey, Bob,
you know,
that little compressor you gave me, the little foot pedal that's kind of tan and brown, and it's I love that thing, man.
That thing is its own thing. There's nothing that sounds like that ever.
What is it?
I'm glad you just mentioned that. It's electro harmonics.
The tone corset.
What's the name of it?
Is it the tone corset?
Tone corset, yeah.
Tone corset?
I use that on the Kelly Clarkson guitar solo, and it rolls off like everything above 8K.
Wow.
And it's just, there's no compressor that sounds like it. It's just amazing. It's a little pedal, like $80 pedal.
Yeah.
The Electro Harmonics Tone Corset.
Yeah,
they make great pedals.
Thank you for that.
Avalanche runs.
Will be mine.
I got to get that out of the garage. Let me write
Me
that
too.
down.
I'm a hypocrite. I haven't used it in a while, but looking at you, I remembered that. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out Radial Ecstasy. Does anyone use anything else to get in and out of the box with pedals?
Only recording.
I think that's one of the better things out there. You know, the Ecstasy by Radial.
Yeah,
they make a 500 series version as well.
Right there.
Is that the
come out of Pro Tools? It basically is a conversion box with input and output knobs and a mix knob, so you can use it as a Pro Tools insert or Logic. Just send out, go to your guitar pedal at the proper level, because you know Pro Audio and guitar level is totally different. So if you hit a guitar pedal at the wrong level, it's not going to sound good, and so you got to get your gain setting right. And the Radial Ecstasy, they make standalone. They look like little direct boxes. They have 1 and 2 channels, and then they have a 500 series. Just have 2 1/4-inch jacks, and I used to have like 10 guitar pedals, and I would just run through them. And you know, like one of my favorite tremolos is the Voodoo Labs tremolo. You can get the Neve or the Vox tremolo type sound. And I mean that was 5-6 years ago. I was doing that. Now there's so many plugins that have tremolos that are pretty authentic. But
so
it's great. Just
the Ecstasy is different than a DI. It's a converter.
Yeah, it's basically a line level shifter kind of box with knobs. You can tweak it and a mix knob. So if you put a guitar pedal on the insert in Pro Tools, you can use the mix knob to blend between, which you can't really do that on mini guitar pedals. You know?
Crazy.
Bob, how are you getting the analog stuff in and out of your mix when you're mixing in the box?
Inserts, so just interface. So I'll go out like 1718 on my Apogee goes to my Bricasti and back, and then 1920 goes to something else and back, you know. And there's hardware inserts, and I know that there's a 7 sample delay when I print it back in, so I just highlight the wave, click it back 7 samples. Not that that many samples is pretty minimal. It's not even milliseconds, but I'll click it back just so it can be right back in its perfect position.
Yeah, matters with
phase.
Can
we go over that real quick?
Yeah.
So how do you find out how many milliseconds your hardware? It says it somewhere in the I/O, right? That your hardware is X amount of milliseconds delayed.
There are delay settings for your I/O where you can type them in Pro Tools, but they're different for every sample rate. So you have to remember if you're going to use them, which I don't. I just know how many samples it is. But if you use those delay compensation for your hardware inserts, you have to have one I/O setup for 48K, one I/O setup for 44.
Got it. Not
so
worth
on and
it.
so on.
Not
so
worth it. So how do you?
How do
you know
I
that you're
visually look at it and slide it back, and
after
usually
it's
ends up
printed.
being 6 or 7 samples, you know. But I just do it by eye.
Got
you know?
it. Right. So do it by eye. All right, that's the key. All right.
Realign the waveforms after they're printed.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, where do you find this? Like, who told you it was 7? How do you where did I was trying to figure out where to
Bob
look
Horn.
up this info. Yeah, I know, right? I should have known.
He hears it. He hears the 7 millisecond.
The 7
latence.
samples, dude.
It's about 8.
I'm not surprised.
Samples.
Yeah, that stuff. It's funny, man, because all these little tiny details they matter, but then they don't matter.
Right.
You know?
Right,
so it's like your converter. It matters, but does it really matter? It's music, you know.
Well,
so
that's
it's just
I think
if you want to get nerdy and geeky about it, it matters. If you don't feel like it that day, just make some music.
Guys,
you know?
we definitely have a better earth when Bob Horn's on it. It's just serious.
Thank you.
Bob Horn will talk to people, and they're jerks, and people don't want to just smash in the face. And Bob is like just floating along. Oh yeah, you know, nothing gets from Bob. It's crazy.
Unbothered.
And you know, everybody I'm looking at now, I have much love and respect for, but Bob is the one that we should really kick the shit out of him.
Man, if you're working in the music industry and you're not having fun, at least most days you're doing it wrong. Like this should be a fun job. It's not rewarding enough in other ways to make it work. Right. So you better love it.
Bob, tell them the story. Tell them the story about our Grammys.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Dave and I used to share this building right here. I had this room. He had the room across the hall, and you know, I had my my Grammy sitting here on my side outboard desk thing, and I made the mistake of going on vacation, and my door doesn't have a lock on it. And he and his assistant, I forget if it was Leandro or whatever assistant you had at that time. They came over and dressed up my Grammy like a girl and sent me pictures.
We put a little skirt around
all
the
kinds of
face.
horrible things. They gave my Grammy a skirt.
Yeah, but my Grammy had sex with his Grammy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It got a little weird.
Cover your ears, children.
We're still talking about the awards here,
right?
I mean, it was just implied. It didn't really, you know.
And it's all on YouTube, so go look for it.
Oh God, yeah.
That's great. That's a great story.
Man.
Yeah, some funny things have happened in this building.
We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun.
Fun times. Well, it's been an amazing show. I think we've given them enough sauce, enough gems. We got to come up with a new name. Yeah, with a new name for all the a little tidbits of information. I was trying to call them gems. I don't know how cool that is, but dropping little gems, gem of the week, gem of the day, whatever. I hope y'all got some good ones.
I did. I got my little note list.
Yeah, same.
I gotta get on these.
Every show I got a list.
Yeah. At the Pensado triple L1 trick.
Bob, what was the name of that Good Math plugin?
And if you do
Good Math,
that's
good
it.
Math,
it's by Make Believe.
Got you.
Good Math.
So those are coded by McDSP, or not McDSP, Metric Halo.
Halo, yeah. I was that's the same company I looked up that had just a dedicated oversampler, I think.
Hey guys, let me. I don't know the rules, so if you want to kick me out of this, you're more than welcome. But if you'd like, I've been posting screenshots of actual places where I'm working, and it's on my Instagram, and so like it's the exact thing from when I was working with it, and I'm having fun, and I put a different one up on the second Friday and the fourth Friday of the month, and
you've been killing it. You've been killing it, Dave. You gotta post. I was gonna say, so with that triple L1 trick, you gotta also talk about the Bones How trick, or the Bones How technique. So if you do the Bones How, which is an 1176 with certain settings to kind of distort your bass a little bit, you do the Bones How with the triple L1. Man, that'll blow your socks off. You gotta post that, Dave.
Okay, done deal.
That's a good one right there, man.
Yeah.
Done Deal Records.
Yeah, some of them, like say maybe some of them are simple, and some of them are old, and some of them are brand new. The last one we did, the RMX was that one.
Now that Valhalla V delay, man, you gotta hold that one in the pocket, bro. You gotta pay for that one.
Which one, Nico?
The Valhalla V delay.
Oh, yeah, Valhalla greatest
delay ever.
Yeah. Try it.
It's a good one, guys.
Everybody I've given it to, like Jason Evigan. That's all he uses anymore. It's really.
I use it on at least 80% of my mixes. It makes its way on there, and I didn't like it at first. I was like, I don't know, but man, everybody's got to tweak it to their.
Yeah, for sure.
Valhalla V delay.
Yep, Valhalla V delay.
Dave's Instagram. Go check out Dave's Instagram. He's got presets and stuff that he uses posted.
Yeah.
Nice.
And these are the ones, bro. I was looking at them, I was like, damn, those are the ones. Those are like secret sauce plugins. He's giving all the presets away.
Well, some of them are for the newbie, and some of them are just me showing off.
Yep. There you go. Killing it. Well, definitely check out Dave's Dave Pensado on Instagram. Make sure you say what's up. Shout out Faders of the Lost Art, and go use those presets. And we are going to be picking a winner every single episode. So we'll figure out how to get you all the mics, but we are going to pick a winner starting next episode. We're going to announce it. I'll try and announce it at the beginning of the episode, or we'll just post it on our Instagram. So make sure you're tuned in, locked in, subscription, whatever, hit the little bell or whatever they say. Follow me for more. All that stuff. And we'll see you next week.
Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And see you next time on Faders of the Lost Art.